They were once the pride of the road. Now, they're slipping into obscurity as the world drives on without them. In 2025, the US auto market is more competitive than ever, with high interest rates, rising costs, and looming tariffs putting pressure on car makers. While brands like Toyota and Tesla thrive, 5 major auto brands are struggling with declining demand, rising inventory, and uncertain futures. Some fading icons, others never fully embraced by American consumers. Watch as we uncover the shocking reasons behind their fall from glory. Before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. If you're passionate about cars and love uncovering the hidden stories behind the industry, you won't want to miss what's coming next. We begin with Nissan, a brand that's gone from dominance to desperation. Once a global powerhouse in the auto world, Nissan is now facing a full-blown financial crisis. The automaker's CEO, Makoto Uchida, openly admitted in late 2024 that the company was in an extremely tough situation and called for urgent restructuring, but things have only grown more uncertain. A potential merger with Honda has collapsed, and rumors are swirling that Honda might return to the table, but only if Uchida resigns. Therefore, Nissan's leadership is under tremendous pressure, both internally and externally. Now let's talk numbers, because the figures tell the real story. Nissan has the infrastructure to support 8.5% US market share, but they're barely holding 4.5%. That's a massive mismatch, and therefore thousands of unsold vehicles are sitting on dealership lots. Nissan's US sales still top 900,000 units per year, but competition from Toyota, Hyundai, Kia, and Subaru has eaten into their share consistently for years. So how much time does Nissan really have left? A Nissan executive reportedly told the Financial Times that the company has just 12 to 14 months to survive. It's not just about falling sales, it's about a balance sheet teetering on collapse. But can Nissan turn the ship around, or is the end near? Stay tuned. Let's talk about Mini, because this once iconic brand may not survive much longer. Mini, the stylish British car brand owned by BMW, is in serious trouble in the US market. Once loved for its compact design and fun handling, Mini is now losing relevance fast. Sales have dropped, models are aging, and dealers are overflowing with unsold cars. But it's not just poor sales, it's a full identity crisis. Therefore, many believe Mini is approaching the brink of extinction in America. So what went wrong? Mini peaked back in 2012 with over 76,000 US sales. But as the brand grew its cars to chase SUV buyers, it lost its loyal fan base. The new Countryman, now Mini's biggest model, was meant to save the brand, but instead, it's sitting on lots with a shocking 188-day supply. Therefore, it's clear, people just aren't buying, and the uphill battle doesn't stop there. Stringent emissions regulations, high production costs, and shifting consumer preferences toward larger vehicles have made it nearly impossible for Mini to compete. BMW hasn't announced a shutdown yet, but the writing's on the wall. Therefore, unless something drastic changes, Mini's American chapter could be coming to a quiet end. Let's talk about Alfa Romeo, because this iconic Italian brand is hanging by a thread in America. Alfa Romeo returned to the US in 2016 with style, speed, and sky-high hopes. Sales soared to nearly 24,000 units by 2018, showing early signs of success. But the momentum quickly faded, and by 2024, sales had plunged to just 8,865 vehicles nationwide. Therefore, what was once a revival story is now looking like a slow fade out. But why did it all fall apart? Alfa Romeo has long struggled with a reputation for poor reliability. Newer models like the Giulia and Stelvio have improved, but lingering issues like electrical failures and engine problems still scare buyers away. Therefore, even with updates, the stigma continues to cost Alfa sales and trust. And it's not just about quality. Alfa ownership is expensive. Parts are hard to source, but the bigger issue is the long-term cost. Maintenance and resale values can't compete with more established rivals. Therefore, owning an Alfa feels risky, no matter how beautiful the car is. And now, the future is in serious doubt. The high-performance Quadrifoglio trims have been canceled, shrinking the lineup even further. Stellantis leadership is shifting, but Alfa remains low on the priority list. Therefore, unless something changes fast, Alfa Romeo could quietly disappear from American showrooms again. Let's let's talk about Chrysler, because one of America's oldest automakers might be reaching the end of the road. As of 2025, Chrysler's lineup is shockingly thin, with the Chrysler 300 sedan discontinued. All that remains are the Pacifica and the rebadged Voyager minivans. Sales have fallen by more than 50% over the past decade, and plans for a comeback are now on life support. But without sedans or SUVs in a market dominated by them, Chrysler is barely hanging on. Therefore, its future is more uncertain than ever. So how did a once proud brand fall this far? Chrysler never truly adapted to the SUV revolution. The brand stuck with minivans and sedans, but ignored the exploding demand for crossovers and electric vehicles. The highly anticipated Airflow EV was recently scrapped, ending any immediate hope of revival. Therefore, Chrysler is left without a vision in an industry that's racing ahead. And the challenges don't stop there. Ownership changes have crippled Chrysler's identity. From Daimler to Fiat to now Stellantis, leadership has shifted too often to build a long-term strategy. But constant change leads to confusion and lost momentum. Therefore, while rivals push into EVs and innovation, Chrysler remains stuck in neutral. Is this really the end? With tariffs looming on Canadian-built minivans, shrinking sales, and no confirmed new models in production, Chrysler may soon be a memory. But unless Stellantis has a surprise in store, the writing may already be on the wall. Therefore, this could be the quiet goodbye of a legendary American brand. Moving to the downfall of Mitsubishi, this one hurts more than you'd think. Once a real contender among Japanese giants like Toyota and Honda, Mitsubishi is now barely hanging on in the US. As of 2025, the brand has just 300 dealerships nationwide, a shockingly low number compared to its competitors. But it's not just about shrinking retail space. Therefore, fewer Americans are even considering Mitsubishi, and the brand is slowly vanishing from the streets. So how did it all unravel? It started with a devastating recall cover-up scandal in Japan, which shattered trust, especially in the US market, but it didn't end there. Mitsubishi's financial arm aggressively loaned to risky buyers, damaging its reputation and bottom line. Therefore, trust was lost on both the consumer and business sides. And when things started looking up, they pulled the plug. In 2025, sales rose thanks to the Mirage, the most affordable new car in America. But instead of building on that momentum, Mitsubishi canceled it. Therefore, just when buyers wanted cheap and efficient, Mitsubishi backed out. Now the clock is ticking. The Outlander is still standing, but it can't carry a brand alone. Mitsubishi is making moves overseas, but in the US, it may already be too late. Therefore, unless a bold reinvention happens fast, Mitsubishi could soon be history. Moving to the forgotten corners of the auto world, these once iconic brands are now on the verge of disappearing. Over the past decade, the American auto market has changed dramatically. While SUVs and EVs have taken center stage, some brands, once symbols of performance, luxury, or practicality, have slipped into near obscurity. Fiat, Maserati, and Jaguar are three prime examples, all facing different challenges, but all heading toward the same uncertain future. Therefore, they deserve one last honest look before they vanish completely. Let's start with Fiat, the compact king that got squeezed out. Fiat re-entered the US market in 2009 with flair, but its comeback fizzled just as quickly. Small, quirky cars like the 500 charmed urban drivers, but competition in the compact segment exploded, especially from Korean and Japanese automakers offering more space, features, and reliability. Therefore, Fiat struggled to stay relevant. The brand's US sales plummeted, and as of 2025, Fiat's footprint is microscopic. It suffers from internal competition within Stellantis, with Jeep and Dodge absorbing buyers. But the real nail in the coffin is changing consumer preferences. No one wants tiny hatchbacks anymore. Therefore, even Fiat's affordable pricing can't save it in a market ruled by crossovers and trucks. Next, we turn to Maserati, a brand that had every advantage and somehow lost its way. Maserati, with its Italian pedigree and performance legacy, should have thrived in a luxury-hungry American market. But poor branding, inconsistent product launches, and diluted exclusivity have crushed its momentum. Its SUVs, like the Levante and Grecale, were meant to expand appeal, but critics slammed them for sharing parts with cheaper Fiat Chrysler vehicles. Therefore, the brand's image took a massive hit. Maserati's marketing failed to capture new luxury buyers, especially against dominant German brands. But instead of evolving quickly, Maserati chased unrealistic sales targets, leading to missed expectations and stale showroom floors. Therefore, despite offering solid performance, the brand now struggles with both identity and relevance. And now, perhaps the most dramatic decline. Jaguar. Jaguar's collapse has been swift and painful. In 2024, the brand sold just 13,210 vehicles in the US, down 82% from its 2018 peak. The reimagined strategy, which promised a bold, all-electric luxury lineup, was supposed to be a turning point, but delays and production cuts wrecked any momentum. Therefore, Jaguar finds itself nearly absent from the 2025 market. At this point, only the F-Pace SUV remains in production, and even that isn't moving in volume. Jaguar has essentially taken a gap year in 2025, but that's not a strategy, it's a survival tactic. Therefore, without meaningful new products or a clear vision, Jaguar risks becoming a footnote in auto history. And it's not just brand-specific issues. Wider industry trends are crushing these automakers. All three brands, Fiat, Maserati, and Jaguar, face the brutal reality of a market that's no longer interested in what they're selling. The shift toward electric vehicles, SUVs, and tech-heavy offerings has left them behind. Fiat didn't go big enough. Maserati didn't go premium enough. Jaguar tried to go electric too fast but couldn't execute. Therefore, each brand is now stuck in limbo, too niche to survive, too slow to evolve. Economic pressures are making things worse. Luxury buyers want brand prestige and cutting-edge tech, but Jaguar and Maserati are haunted by old reliability stereotypes. Fiat's value proposition no longer makes sense when better, similarly priced alternatives exist. Therefore, consumers are simply looking elsewhere. Now, zooming out to the bigger picture, Stellantis is trimming the fat. From 2015 to 2024, sales for Stellantis and FCA brands in the US dropped a staggering 42%, from over 2.2 million to just 1.3 million vehicles sold. Jeep and Ram are still holding on, but Chrysler, Alfa Romeo, Fiat, and Maserati are all under threat. New Stellantis leadership is under pressure to cut underperforming brands. Therefore, survival will likely depend on profitability, not heritage. So what's next for these fading names? Fiat might disappear again from US showrooms. Maserati could retreat further into ultra-luxury territory, or vanish entirely from mainstream awareness. Jaguar, despite its prestige, may not survive another year of stalled production. But unless major reinventions occur, and fast, these brands could quietly slip out of North America for good. Therefore, this may be your last chance to see them before they're gone. Now, let's break down what all of this really means for car buyers like you. The decline of brands like Nissan, Chrysler, Mitsubishi, Fiat, and even Jaguar signals more than just shifting industry trends. It directly affects your wallet. These brands are losing market share, trimming model lineups, and facing leadership chaos. But while this sounds grim, it also creates a window of opportunity. Therefore, knowing how to navigate this market can save you thousands or cost you dearly. Let's start with the good news. There could be serious deals ahead. When automakers are desperate to move inventory, they get aggressive with pricing. Brands on the edge often offer deep discounts, cash rebates, and extended warranty deals. But these markdowns usually come just before a model or the entire brand is pulled from the market. Therefore, if you're looking for a budget-friendly car, now might be the time, but only if you're careful. But there's a catch, and it's a big one. Resale value. If a brand exits the US or slashes its dealer network, resale values tend to crash. Fewer buyers want a car they're unsure they can service or resell. But even current owners can get blindsided by the sudden drop in demand. Therefore, a good deal today could be a long-term headache down the road. Here's how to protect yourself before you buy. Do your research, look at reliability ratings, service coverage, resale projections, and brand stability. But don't stop at the sticker price. Understand the full cost of ownership. Therefore, you'll be able to make a smart, informed decision instead of being stuck with a car the market left behind. So what does it all mean? Some car brands are fading fast, but that could mean big savings or big regrets. Therefore, before you grab a deal, make sure it won't cost you later. Do your homework, look beyond the price, and buy smart. If this helped you see the industry a little clearer, hit like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments. Which brand do you think is going under next? But remember, cars come and go, smart buyers don't.